Jacob Wetterling's confessed killer will never be prosecuted for murdering him that October night in 1989. He agreed to plead guilty to a lesser charge in exchange for giving the Wetterlings the truth about what happened to their son. How this case ended left us wondering, how common are plea deals and how do they work? Good question. Heather Brown joins us right now. So plea deals, Heather, are very common, but this one was unique.
This one in particular was, and here's why. In most murder cases, people will plead to a lesser charge, but it's still some sort of murder charge. In this case, Heinrich pleaded guilty to one count of child pornography. So essentially, he admitted to a murder that he won't legally serve time for. And that tells you just how valuable his information was.
Over the months, I want to be clear, we didn't know if we would ever get here.
For 10 months, prosecutors had been willing to negotiate, but it wasn't until 10 days ago that Danny Heinrich's lawyer said he was willing to deal.
Any plea agreement with Heinrich would have to include a lengthy prison sentence and a confession that could be independently verified. And of course, we needed to bring Jacob home.
97% of federal cases resolve in some type of plea bargain.
Joe Tamburino is a criminal defense attorney not affiliated with the Wetterling case.
It comes in three ways. The simplest is in terms of time. You get less time if you plead guilty to something. Second is in terms of the charges. You might have some charges dismissed. Third is in terms of things that will not be charged.
How does the prosecutor decide how much to give up?
Well, that depends on what the other side, the defense, is offering. In this case, what Mr. Heinrich had was the ultimate piece of information.
What was most important to the Wetterlings was to bring Jacob home.
It is their discretion, but each prosecuting attorney's office have their own basically internal guidelines.
Do the victims have to approve a plea bargain before it goes forward?
First of all, it's important to remember that the Wetterling family signed off on this just last week.
No, victims and their families have rights. They need to be notified of what's going on in the case, but they don't per se have the authority to give a green light or a red light on a deal. They can have input, but the ultimate authority is with the prosecuting office.
Now, there are many people upset that the maximum sentence Heinrich could face is 20 years, but a judge today did say Heinrich would likely be civilly committed to a sex offender program after serving his prison sentence. Now, there is no parole in federal sentencing, but there is time off for good behavior. So Tamburino says Heinrich might see maybe 17 years.
And I think another thing to think about too is we don't know what the sex offender program could be like in 20 years.
Right. I mean,
like
there's
there's
a lot of controversy around that right now, and even questioning the constitutionality of that right now. So it's, you know, it just shows you how much people wanted to know where Jacob was.
All right. Thank you, Heather. And if you have a good question for Heather, please email it by going to WCCO.com/links.